Hi everybody, Tony Franco Jr. here. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be doing part 2 of this series from the film I See Darkness, directed by Hank Orion, lead actor Myrat Bayram. As from the last video, I also wanted to take this time that I've been able to manage to show you another cue that I've been working on, another cue that I felt really proud of doing. This cue is pretty much very different from the last cue that I showed in the first video. But nevertheless, this is something I just wanted to show you guys, my thought process and what I've been doing. Not just in this film, but from other films I'm going to be hopefully showing in the current days or possibly in the future. But nevertheless, I'm really excited and proud to show you this next cue that I'm gonna demonstrate. And just without further ado, let's dive right into it and just show you what I've done and how I've composed this. So yeah, here we go, you guys. As I mentioned before, this cue is completely different from the last one I showed you. But nevertheless, I'm just gonna show you all the things I've done, all the plugins, all the things that went behind in scoring this film. And I guess I should probably start off by just explaining, or at least giving a little bit of context, for those who have not seen the movie. I guess the only thing I would really say is that it's this part in this point in the film where um our main character is slowly being revealed things that he has gone through, and it's kind of slowly coming in full circle, at least up to this point in the film. And certain things are coming back to him in his mind, and pretty much it's putting him through a roller coaster. And at least that's as much context as I'm gonna be, sharing, at least up to this point. But nevertheless, I wanted to explain the queue a bit more in depth, the musical ideas and the libraries and just stuff that I managed to to put together. So at least in this first part, as you heard, it's pretty mysterious and chaotic, and that was the thing. At least in this point in the film, all these elements were coming together, and what I really wanted to do was capture that. And the best part about this was the the library that I was using, which is the Albion Solstice. This library pretty much, wow, my goodness. In particularly the voices, how they were sampled and performed, were incredible. I mentioned this in the past how I was looking for libraries, or I was looking for sounds that weren't just your typical legato, weren't typical just straight in sounding. I wanted some variety, and this one really delivered a lot. And in terms of the vocals, uh, in the beginning, I wanted to play off the idea of the vocals being some sort of a conscience, or some sort of like a guiding force of some kind, that's trying to point uh, our lead character in a particular direction. And but at the same time, I didn't want it just to be that. I also wanted to create a sense of confusion and mystery. And you know the way how these things were sampled and performed, beautiful. And this is something that also helped me give this cue, in my opinion, the feeling that it really needed, because I was really struggling at first, just to find what not what mysterious is, but pretty much how can I present it in a way that it's gonna fit. And I'll just play the first part of the vocals, at least of the choir from Albion Solstice. It's stuff like that. I mean, some people might think it's very um scary. I mean, sure, why not? But but to me at least, the way I try to use them, you know, envelop the feeling just of both mystery and there's some sort of some sort of push. I guess if that makes sense, that was the direction I was trying to head for. Um, and like I mentioned, I can't say enough good stuff about Spitfire, or at least the Albion Solstice library. This one, my goodness, it took me by surprise. The next library, this is I believe from Native Instruments, the Evolve. This was actually one of those libraries that I've had. I just never really used, if at all, if I can remember. But nonetheless, this library came in clutch because I'll just demonstrate right now, actually, before I say anything else. So here we go. Those kind of sounds, that set the tone, that set the mood, for everything else that's gonna happen throughout the rest of this queue. It was those kind of sounds that I was, just thinking in the back of my mind, and what other new thing that I can apply. That was pretty much my goal. I mean, yes, understanding the ideas, what the director Hank wanted, what I was receiving in terms of the footage, And nonetheless, I really wanted to just to take a step back, listen to things I've done, listen to things that maybe I have not done or was just simply not used to. Nevertheless, this was kind of like the direction that was pushing me to or towards, and putting them together. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Uh, the boom effect. This is one of those things that really I kind of learned from past creators, other film composers. To sort of spark up an idea. Um, I've done it before, but I never really, in my opinion, thought I would have any use. I mean, there are uses for it. I just didn't consider this would work in my opinion, and I'll show you right now with how it all kind of sounds together, for at least for the first few seconds. You know, setting the mood up. Setting the tone of everything that's gonna come out later. And honestly, this was one of the like I mentioned, this is one of the cues I'm actually really excited in showing because again, it's really it's entirely different. It really pushed me, mentally, because like I said, I was so used to just writing, I guess orchestral, but when you're talking with directors, you're always gonna be in a creative roller coaster. You're gonna always hear ideas that are 100% contrary to what you had in mind, but in a good way because that kind of again pushes you um, into exploring new areas or new genres or whatever they may be. And and if you are fortunate enough and blessed enough to score whatever film, it doesn't really quite matter the genre, at least in my opinion. The fact is that you're always talking with someone new, or at least with someone with a different perspective or a different idea than you. In my opinion, that always that kind of tug and war always will be both a challenge and yet an exciting opportunity. And I'll continue with the rest of the cue. Um, I pretty much add in some violin, at least a particular violin, which I'll show you right now. As probably you're watching here, this is a contemporary drama toolkit, again from Spitfire. Um, this library was actually really cool as well. And because it's not just a violin. It's I believe it's an electric violin. I've never used well, at least when I got this library, I never used this particular string patch. But as as you're probably hearing, again, very different, very eerie. Those kind of sounds I was just looking for, and I was, my goodness, these were the sounds that were in my head, but I just could never really find just that sound. Like like when you're thinking of sounds, there's some things that are just kind of stay in your head, and you really try your best to kind of figure out, you know, I guess how it sounds. It's kind of weird how I put it that way, but when you do this, you tend to mentally kind of challenge yourself in this. And like I mentioned, let me see if I can play at least just from my keyboard. Stuff like that, that's hopefully once you get out of this, it starts to make a little more sense. But I'll play it one more time. That eeriness, those were the stuff I just almost immediately fell in love with, because that painted the rest. And when I heard that, I was like, yes, yes, yes. Like this was what I was searching for. This is what I was fighting for. To get this kind of sound. It's subtle when you hear it, but the way how the scene was presented, it didn't need much. It just needed to be like sort of the foundation. Just something that was hovering over, and to let like the music not necessarily be a distraction. That's one of the things you gotta have to be very careful is that the music doesn't distract. It shouldn't be distracting. It should be enhancing. At least that was the approach I also wanted to accomplish as well. Was that even though these sounds were unique and different, eerie, all these kind of stuff, but nevertheless, if it's becoming a distraction, against the picture, you don't want to have the music, be something off, if that makes sense. You want it to help to deliver the scene in a whole new light. And I remember Hank addressed that with me as well in the beginning, and it took me a while to not figure out, but just come to a place where okay, I need to take off certain things, take off other instruments because I had more instruments, but once I started dissecting and just layering things out. Um, Again, this is how the cue overall sounded. And I also, oh yeah, almost forgot. I also have percussion in this cue. I'll just play the percussion part just for a little bit. Yeah, this one's from Native Instruments called Action Strikes. And Action Strikes actually is pretty cool. Uh, I would say that ideally with this library, it's more for like cinematic performances. Just I guess the only way I can make put some idea is maybe The Dark Knight, like percussion like that, very very fast paced, loud, boom sounds, very rhythmic approaches. But I was able to find something that was very somewhat subtle yet rhythmic, and adding that together with at least the second half, not the second half, but the second part of the cue, which I'll just play again, just to demonstrate what I was doing, and just to demonstrate as well the second part that leads into the next bit, which I'll show you. But I'll just play this part a little bit one more time, and move to the next part. Oh, I probably should have added one more thing. As I mentioned, adding all these elements, it may not seem much because probably you're just seeing, one, two, three stems. But nevertheless, I really, really, really tried to just make sure that it for the most part, had a good balance. At least in terms of because as I mentioned, you don't want the music to be distracting. You want it to enhance. You want it to make sure that it's the best it can possibly be. And I probably mentioned this in the past video, but I've always been a big believer of less is more kind of approach, because it's easier to layer your music with whatever one violin or one synth or one guitar, and to have like 20 other things on top. It's easy to do that, and it's not a bad thing. It just when you start to realize your composition, or your music starts to sound muddy, if that makes sense, because you have a lot of you have a lot of sounds on top of each other, some high, some mid, some low, and if you keep adding a lot of stuff, it's easy at first to not realize it, because again you're just so used to wow, I'm putting more sounds here and there and everywhere. But I guess just so a little heads up, once you kind of sort of stop and just listen to it, and you realize that certain elements are not working, too many sounds are in the way, and you kind of almost forgotten, your goal. I would just honestly just either mute or take stuff out. You'd be surprised how more things tend to just sound a bit better, once you start, just taking some things off, and you realize, oh my goodness, I didn't need that extra plug-in or extra percussion, just the little things, I wanted to put in there. And the next part right here, this is where stuff kind of, kind of gets a little bit more serious, a little bit more, fast paced, and I try to, replicate like a very fast heartbeat. And this is where pretty much the percussion becomes more of has a bit more pulse to it, has a bit more, I guess, bite. And the vocals come back now sort of more in a more lively presence, if that makes sense. And and it's this part of the film, at least at this point, Hank pretty much told me that he wanted to make sure that like the music was sort of talking to him, even though he doesn't know it. But it's like, because it does show a bit of the character wandering around. And Hank pretty much told me, make sure that the music, make it at least sound like, or look and sound like it's talking to him. And I guess that, like I mentioned, that was the part I really didn't quite understand at first, because I didn't know what he meant by that. But then once I did this, and then just looking back how the scene played, I think I understood, at least at least up to that point. I understood what he meant. So I'll just go in and just play this part. Stuff like that, just like I mentioned, it's those things that I was looking for. Let me see if I can find this. Yeah, here we go. Another part of the percussion pretty much acting like a heartbeat, or at least a heartbeat that was being more intense. The scene pretty much goes, in a bit of a faster pace, and I really wanted to just to capture those little details, in terms of, because there's a lot of movement going on. And I'll probably just show you the second part, or at least the third part, excuse me, the third part of the percussion, and actually have the same library, just two different times, or at least two different performances. And I'll show you right here. Just stuff like that, that that I really wanted to show you guys, because honestly, this was one of the cues that I honestly spend, like, I want to say 3 days, or no, 3 nights, because I'm normally busy during the day, and it's around 9 p.m. to maybe 4 a.m. Crazy, right? But life of a composer. But this is one of the cues that I actually spent 3 nights just trying to figure out and dial in or dial out things that I really wanted to accomplish. And like I said, this thing really took me on a journey. All right, the next part of the cue, well, we'll start from right here, I believe. Yeah, right here. And from here towards the end, it gets kind of faster in a certain spot, but then it kind of comes back to the sort of um, steady pace. I mean, in my opinion, towards the end, it kind of feels relaxed, at least up to this point. And I'll just show you. And there it fades out, giving that calm or ending, fade. But as I mentioned, it was one of those things that felt very proud of doing, and felt very proud, after when I completed it, just taking a step back. Wow, I loved it, and thank goodness, and Hank loved it as well. He felt like, but he told me like, wow, my goodness, this is exactly the things I was trying to get across. And that's the thing, always take notes when you're talking with directors. Always take notes and just receive all the input you can get in, because you'd be surprised. Just having to listen and see and sort of accept ideas probably are not comfortable. This was one of them, because I honestly just wanted to. I scored it a bit different, but just talking with Hank, this is the kind of direction we both kind of at least in the beginning we kind of agreed upon, and then when I started scoring, this was like the more details of all the sounds, the eerie sounds. That's what led me to form this cue in particular. And actually, I wanted to go back a little bit further, or at least return to a certain plugin. I don't think I explained enough. This was another one, again, from Evolving Mutations. This library was actually pretty cool because it gave me this kind of sound, actually. It's somewhat distorted, yet has like a high bell on top, a little flickering, a bit of flickering then and there. And like I mentioned, another texture that kind of helped bring this whole composition together. And when we play this again, it's those kind of sounds that to me help to deliver this in a good way. And like I said, this was the end result that I felt really proud of at the end. Something that I honestly kept pushing myself forward into, and honestly, Hank, just having my back on this, really, like I mentioned in the past video, he was kind of trusting me to deliver. Pretty much, he was trusting me, to capture all these musical elements and to make it the best um, composition, that I can deliver. And yeah, just shout out to Hank on that, because really, honestly, even though he didn't have like oh, excuse me, he didn't have like a certain cue, or not cue, but a certain soundtrack he pulled out. No, he was just like trusting me, and as I was showing him things, he pretty much had my back on this. He was just like, Tony, we trust you. If there's anything we don't like, any changes, we'll let you know. But nonetheless, this is one of the cool things about film scoring is, even when you feel like you really have no idea where to go or what else to do, just having that good healthy communication, can honestly um, take you in places you never thought you'd be able to go. And yeah, so other than that, this was another cue that I've just worked on, and honestly, I couldn't have been more grateful to be a part of. If you made it towards the end of this video, I want to say thank you for sticking around and watching this part 2 from the film I See Darkness, and through this walk series that I'm hopefully going to be doing more in the future. And I just want to say thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. If you guys want to see the full movie of I See Darkness, the link in the description will be down below, including the official soundtrack. That also will be in the description down below. Like I said, I can only learn and grow as I do this more and more. Please leave a like and subscribe. Leave a comment as well. Love to hear you guys. Just comments or whatever of this video, or maybe the soundtrack you heard, or the movie you saw. But nonetheless, I want to say thank you so much, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. And I will let you go with the cue. Where am I? So here we go.